13. Now I gotta hit the self-timer.
What on earth is going on here?
That was a little clip of something I was doing a few weeks back while I was in the midst of another 30-day photography challenge, but this time, a little different. Let me explain to you what I was up to.
Last month, I did a 30-day photography challenge. What I was doing is taking a picture every day of no matter what, to simply do more photography and make it a daily practice. Towards the end of that challenge, my girlfriend Melli asked me for how much longer my challenge was going to continue because she had found a new challenge which she wanted to try together with me. The challenge she found was another 30-day photography challenge, but this time with a list of 30 different assignments, one for each day.
She found the list on Pinterest. It's from Dawn Rainbow. I'll leave a link to her post in the description.
So here it is. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward, a simple to-do list with a photo assignment for each day. The assignments vary from the subject to shoot, the angle, the editing, or other factors.
So, with fresh energy and motivation tanked for the next 30 days, Melli and I decided to start the challenge on Friday the 17th of April.
Day 1. Self-portrait. Here's the first photo of the challenge. I think it's an okay photo. I like the lighting. It was taken in front of Melli's bathroom mirror, which I also used in my previous challenge, as you might remember. It's actually just a simple mirror light, but it looks good.
The second assignment on the list is what I wore today. Here's the photo.
Yeah, I know, it's pretty basic and obvious, but whatever. I shot the photo, that's what counts. I got out the Samyang 14mm for this shot to get this rather high-looking angle on my clothes. I thought it was a fun addition to the photo to add my legs in there to signalize that that really was what I wore that day. As you can see, quite a quarantine outfit there. Day 3. Clouds.
I suppose I don't need to tell you that this day was going to be easy for me because I love shooting some moody grey clouds.
However, the weather on that day was not at all close to this. The sun was out, the clouds weren't very present, but I got out the Lumix with the 14 to 140mm and zoomed in on some clouds in the distance. This is the shot I got, and I have to say, I actually quite like it. It has a dreamy, comfortable feeling to it, maybe because it kinda looks like an image to represent heaven. Anyway, that was day 3. The next day, the assignment was to shoot something green. So in the evening, I went out on a little walk and got this shot here of this leaf hanging off a bush. I like the bokeh in the foreground and how shallow the depth of field is in this photo, which isolates the leaf, but all in all, I find it to be a bit boring. Day 5, from a high angle.
So, behind me there, I've got a table with some gear lying on it, and I was thinking to do a flat lay with just the camera high up, maybe all the way to the ceiling with this lens. I just want to see what it looks like. And it'll be a little sketchy because I'll be holding my tripod somewhat up to the ceiling with the camera on it on top. So I hope this is going to go good. Anyway, that's what we're experimenting with right now. Let's go.
So here are the results. I have to say, I find all of these somewhat nyeh. But if I'd have to decide on one of these, it would probably be this one. I like the unique perspective of it. On day 6, the assignment was to shoot a photo from a low angle. Melli and I decided to go out during sunset, and I was thinking of getting some low-angle portraits of Melli. On the way to our location, we came across this dog, which then was Melli's low-angle photo. And later on, I had Melli do this funny spinning movement and shot in burst mode to potentially catch a cool moment. I was quite low with the camera to get that low angle, which however doesn't really come across that much in the photos. I ended up with a total of 5 images, which I think came out quite alright.
Day 7. Fruit. I wasn't really feeling like shooting a simple still life of fruit somewhere, so instead I shot this slightly abstract form of fruit.
This is my glass mug, which I used to drink a fruit smoothie. My thought was to capture the little bits of fruit left inside the mug. I still like the idea, however I find the execution to be, well, okay. Day 8. Capture a bad habit.
So, something that I do that understandably annoys Melli is sometimes I might leave my clothes just lying around somewhere on the floor. So that is exactly what I shot.
I spreaded my clothes on the floor and shot from directly above with the 14mm again. Day 9 came along, and the assignment for this day was to shoot a photograph representing someone you love.
So, quite obviously, Melli and I decided to photograph each other.
We went out during sunset, and I was trying to keep my camera a little low to capture candid moments of Melli, which I prefer to setting up a shot and letting her pose for me. I ended up getting these 3 shots, which I really like. They're one of my favorites from this challenge. This one is a little more abstract and artsy, I suppose. I like the shifted focus though. And this one here is beautiful. I love how Melli's hair is flying over her cheek a little, and the black and white edit gives it a timeless look, I find. By the way, this photo has become my new phone lock screen. Day 10, a childhood memory. For this assignment, I thought back to the later stages of my childhood when I was about 11 or 12. A friend of mine and I, both huge Star Wars fans, used to act out lightsaber battles with sticks. Therefore, I went out during sunset on the look for an adequate stick. Here's the photo. I have to say, this stick was far from adequate. I definitely would have looked for a better one back then, but for the idea of the photo, it was okay. The picture itself turned out alright, I think. Nothing really creative or so going on here, just a stick and a beautiful orange sun flare. Day 11, something blue. On this day, I shot this image here of the blue sky with some clouds. While editing this, I suddenly felt like adding some typography to the photos, so that's this here. Day 12, sunset. The last few days, the weather had been blessing us with some sunsets. However, of course, the day of the assignment, the sun was not even close to coming out. Melli and I went out anyway. I decided to simply shoot the sunset, even though there isn't really one. So that's these photos of the clouds. These actually present quite a mood, but apart from that, the photos are pretty boring. However, later on I got some photos which I think are not at all boring. After shooting the grey sunset, on our way back home, the light was getting pretty weak and the street lights turned on. On the way, I found this street light, which was shining in this orange light, which created some beautiful color contrast. This photo is technically not part of the challenge, but I like it so much I want to show you anyway. I'm enjoying the simple, minimalistic composition, and of course the subtle color contrast. Day 13. This brings me back to the beginning of the video. 13. Now I gotta hit the self-timer. The assignment of the day was me with 13 things. So I decided to collect 13 items for me to wear in a self-portrait. I ended up wearing 3 scarves, 1 glove, a mask, and 7 hats. Lastly, I counted the sweater I was wearing as my 13th item, and that is what on earth was going on here. I think the photo is pretty fun. Not exactly what I would include in my photography portfolio, but it's fun. Day 14. Eyes. There's not much to say here, just a simple close-up of Melli's eye. Day 15. Silhouettes. For this day, I shot this photo here. I don't really like this photo. It just gets the job done, but it's nothing special. I've taken much better silhouette photos in the past, so I find this one to be a little disappointing. Day 16. A long exposure. Is it only me, or do you also immediately think of photos of light trails of cars zooming down a road when you think of a long exposure? Well, I thought, why not use a long exposure for something completely different? Nah, just kidding. I was too lazy to go out that evening, so instead I shot this long exposure of me in the kitchen. It's not really good, I know, but I do find it to have a kind of interesting aesthetic. What do you think? Day 17. Technology. So, actually I tried to shoot a photo of me holding a gadget and use Photoshop to add in a hologram like the ones in Star Wars. However, my rather low Photoshop skills failed in doing this, so I had to shoot an alternative. I went for the classic. I gathered a bunch of my gadgets and laid them onto a table to shoot a good old flat lay. I have to say, I like it more than I expected to. The table turned out to work pretty well for this kind of photography. The photo is softly lit from the upper left side with my video light, and the overall black theme of the objects I chose all accumulates to a pretty good looking photo in my opinion. Day 18. Shoes. These are possibly my least favorite photos of the 30 days, it even hurts a little to show you. Basically, I just planned to shoot some product photo style pictures of my shoes, but it didn't really work out. I think the main reason is how old and dirty my shoes are. These simply don't work for presentation or product photography. It's clearly visible that these were once white and are now completely dirty. As you can see, I tried 2 different photos, one of me holding the shoes up and one of them lying on the floor. I like the interaction with the lines, but the lighting, the shoes and just everything here doesn't look good, so let's quickly move on to the next day, shall we? Day 19. Something orange. So I might have stretched my interpretation of orange for these photos a little bit. Melli's mother has 2 cats and one of them likes to come down to Melli's apartment to hang out. I had previously ordered a product online and left the box on the floor thinking the cat might enjoy it, and indeed, since then she's been chilling in that box a lot. and on the day of the assignment I decided to shoot a photo of the cat in the box. Concerning the orange of the assignment, well, I was thinking in RGB terms. You know, if you've got orange and you pull down the luminance, this brownish color is what you get, but the hue itself is still orange, therefore I'm letting this count. Day 20, Bokeh. This assignment day had so much Bokehlicious potential, but all I did was this. However, a friend I sent this to, she said she likes the window texture, so that kind of cheered me up about the photo, but anyway, let's move on. Day 21, Faceless Self-Portrait. For this assignment, I shot this photo. I like the composition and the way the light hits me from the side, so overall I think it's a solid faceless self-portrait. Day 22, Hands. To capture hands, I tried something out. I placed my softbox on one side of the door and my hand on the other side. By almost closing the door and only keeping a little slit open, I tried to create this beam of light. It worked out a little, I'd say. I think this scene would have benefited from some dust or fog to enhance the direction of the light and make the beam more visible. Day 23, Rock/Stone. Again, it's time for a slightly different interpretation of a rock. I chose to shoot a rather big rock, you could say. This is a mountain silhouette in the distance during sunset. Day 24, Animal. Here's a photo of Melli's mom's cat again. The photo itself is not very good in my opinion, but it ticked off the assignment for that day. Day 25, something pink or purple. By now, I wasn't feeling very inspired to shoot anymore, so on this day I just shot this photo of one of Melli's fake plants and added some magenta in Lightroom. Day 26, From a Distance. On this day, I went out a little later in the evening when it had become dark and got these photos. These were all shot with the Lumix GX80 with the 14 to 140mm extended all out to 140mm to achieve some distance. The photo I choose to be the one for the assignment is this one. I don't exactly know how this happened, but I accidentally did some light painting here. It was not intentional, but I think it looks nice, so this is it. Day 27, Close-Up. This is an old broken watch I found lying around. I like the orange tint coming from the side, by the way. Day 28, Flowers. This one is pretty obvious. Day 29, Black and White. If you saw last week's video, you might recognize this photo. I shot this while hiking and filming last week's video. This is a black and white version of one of the photos I showed you in the video. At last, day 30. The list ends with another self-portrait. On that day, I was working on a photography project I'm currently still in the midst of. It is the biggest photography project I've ever worked on, and it'll be coming out in a few weeks' time. Also, I'll be sharing some behind-the-scenes content about that photo series on this channel sometime soon. So the self-portrait for this day is a little sneak peek on the project, actually. On that day, I created a backdrop made of toilet paper and also a mask out of toilet paper, and shot these self-portraits. As said, you'll be hearing more about this project soon. And that wraps up this challenge. Those were my 30 photos. Thanks to Dawn Rainbow for sharing her list on Pinterest, and thanks to Melli for suggesting this challenge. I hope you could be inspired in some way to do more photography or even try this challenge out yourself. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, it helps me out, it helps the channel grow, and it helps this little community become a little bigger. With that said, I hope to see you again in the next video next week. Until then, goodbye.